Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Don't be in shock because it's me again.
Good afternoon.
We knew you were gonna miss us.
I'm just filling in for Miss Dorset. That's all I am doing, filling in.
Okay.
That's about it. Did you get your grades?
No, Mom. At least I didn't get mine.
I didn't get mine either.
I
I
think
didn't get any.
Miss Dean will be sending you your grades. They're all done. So
We all good?
what that means?
If all of us are good, did we all do what we needed to do?
Oh God, why put them papers? Oh, I think I bundle them all together. Let me see. I don't remember. I don't memorize these things, you know. That would have been. No, that's too early. That's too early. Okay, no. No. Okay, here we go. More or less, yeah.
Okay.
The grades were not bad.
Okay.
Anything you want to know? Highest grade?
I don't know. I don't know if I really want to know, to be honest.
Why?
I don't need that extra stress, Miss Archer.
Okay, all right. No, but it wasn't bad. Not at all.
I'm not everybody's mouthpiece, though. So if anybody else would like to know.
It was not bad at all.
Okay.
Now, for the final exam, there will be no cheat sheet. So be prepared to study. Because I know that was company law. So I know it's kind of like new to some people. But this part is on trust itself. So there's no cheat sheet. Gotta come there with your brain ready to go.
Good evening, everyone. Miss Archer just came, just tuned in, right? When is the final exam, please?
Oh Lord, we could be hard. Hold on.
Yeah.
Get my I'll get a long way to go before the final exam, you know. Yeah. Yes, you do. Exam 22nd of April.
22nd.
Yes.
And it is an hour exam. An hour exam, you say?
3.
Um,
You could do this.
so I think it's the 13th would be our review date, right?
Our review date will be April the 6th and the 13th.
Okay.
Because remember,
None on the 15th?
And on the who?
The 15th, isn't the 15th a Saturday? That would have been our regular class day.
No, the last class is on the 13th.
13.
Okay.
So where you come from with this next day again?
I was just going based on the original schedule.
No, the original schedule on the 15th would have been your final, but we changed
Right.
it to second.
That's why I asked, because I figured we would have still had class because we should have been doing an exam that week.
Okay, yeah, no. 13th will be the last. Yes. The
So
13th.
because there's no cheat sheet, that means that we're getting some multiple choice then. Is that what you're saying?
If you wish to have some, you can.
Please,
Okay.
short answers.
All right, so final ones, multiple choice, and short answers. We all in agreement? I hear nothing. We in agreement?
So
Or
only multiple choice and short answers?
yes, or you want me to make the multiple choice an option?
Whatever one where the answer that's gonna be poking out at us, that's the one we could do. Yeah, like just make it simple. Like this is really rough. I don't know about the other ladies, but it's really rough right now. But just do it for us, please. I appreciate you. Thank you.
So multiple choice and short answers, or you want me to do multiple choice as an alternative?
For
You
me,
mean only multiple choice?
No, I
Oh,
can do it whereby I give you, say, 6 or 7 short answers, and you're required to answer 5. And I could say, in lieu of 5 short answers, you can answer part B, multiple choice. And I can give you 20
Mhm.
multiple questions for 2 points each.
oh, okay.
I could do it like that.
That can work for me. Well, the other ladies can say no.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
for me.
Choose
So
5.
at that point, you have the option of not doing the multiple choice and doing all of the short answers.
Yes.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
you can do 3 short answers and answer all the multiple choice.
Mhm.
Multiple choice would be worth 40 points.
Okay.
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 That's-
Consensus. All right.
Ms. Archer, I just want to say before we get started, if I can, I thought about this class today because I went to the STEP conference.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, and in one of the breakout sessions, the gentleman was talking about a particular case. He was doing a discussion on the Pugachev decision, and he mentioned the Press Petrodel case. So I sat in the session and I kind of smiled to myself. I was like, oh yeah, I know about that. And they were throwing out throughout the day, they were throwing out a lot of cases that we've talked about in all of our classes, including the first stage of this. So it just kind of reminded me that it's a lot of information, but
Mhm.
it's always relied on. So it's really I've seen now just from today the real life importance of actually remembering these things because it's gonna come back.
Yeah, it's gonna come back to you. So even when you finish STEP and you're doing your day-to-day work, these things are gonna come back to you because you're gonna have to rely on them because that's where the principles are for what you're gonna do every day. So don't get rid of your book. New cases may come up like Press versus Petrodel, but the point is that the principles, the founding principles, are in your book. Anybody else going tomorrow? Because I know they had advertised it like 3 weeks ago in the papers, but I think the price would have been steep if you were a non-member. But even for members, because it was 1,000 and something, right?
There's 1,000 for members and 1,100 for non-members. I
Right.
didn't have a choice. I was told I was going. So
Well, that was good because then they paid for it.
yeah,
But if they weren't paying for it and you wanted to just take 2 days off for your personal interests, so that when you finish the course and start your STEP, if you wanted to apply somewhere for a position, that was kind of steep.
yeah, it is very much an investment, but I think just off of one day is worth it. If you could sacrifice to do it, it's absolutely worth it.
Yeah. So, well, I don't know if they'll like the presentations, if they make them available to you as you were there. It would be very helpful if you keep it in and put it in your binder with these notes. Okay. So Alicia, let me hear your stress before I begin so I could get a better idea when I write in my exam questions. I know what Leah's stress is. Deandra's not on this call. Where is she?
I'll get around. I've been working non-stop, like 7 days for the past whatever amount of weeks from this class start. And I
Uh-huh.
really can't take nothing much. So like your little 5 questions, I could live with that.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I need you to be too extra or put too much thought or anything into it, you know? Just
Hmm.
like just, yeah.
So even do the review and I tell you what's coming on the exam, you still find that difficult?
No, we could do that. I'm all in.
Okay.
Yeah, I could do that one.
Hold on, let me see something.
But the
Let me see.
review where
Because
you tell us when
no,
and
no,
what.
no. No, I'm not taking nothing else from you. I'm looking at your grade. I'm writing my exam the way I'm supposed to write it. I'm not
No,
taking that. When you
don't
get
look
your
at my grade. Don't
grade,
look at that.
when you get your, you'll see why.
But Miss Archer,
I'm not talking to you either.
didn't Alicia didn't she get to do hers a little different from the rest of us?
Yes.
Actually, you all didn't want that pressure. It honestly got to a point while I was doing that exam, I was like, you know what? The hell with it. I look at all the points and I was like, this should give me 70. I only care about 70 right now. That's it. And then it was at a point I was like, this looks like 65. It's probably $50. So if you take the test, I got $50 in my bag right now. I can just take it over. Like it was, don't mess with that. That take home was no joke.
I am listening to no cries from anybody.
Hmm.
No cries.
We got
Y'all,
this.
y'all could do this.
So we'll be getting the results tomorrow, you think?
Well, I'll send a note to Miss Dean now. I'll see if she could email it. But she has it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Miss Aja.
Guess what? Guess what? If you want to, before I begin, because this chapter is short, each one of you send me an individual email.
Okay.
And then
And
I'll
you can
send.
tell us our grade.
Uh-huh.
Yay, so we all pass.
Did I give an answer to that? I said, send me an email. I will send you your grade. You're always trying to pick my out.
Okay.
God, Lord. Focus.
Sorry.
Focus, focus. Oh, DeAndre is in here. Where is she? Yeah, let her keep missing class. I'm trying to write my grades down. Okay, let me make sure I have it right before I give somebody the wrong grade. And then they start crying on this call. Anybody send theirs yet?
I did.
Okay, that's Janice. Let me go here.
Yes.
Yeah,
So did
so
I.
look, then listen here. Let me go to primary. Okay, I see Janice. Let me put a text so I can know I sent that. And let me do a reply. Okay, Janice is gone. Ali. Let me do a reply. And put that in here. That's gone. And Leah. Let me do it. Yeah, I see why you put that with one eye pop open. Okay, done.
Did you see mine, Miss Audra?
No. Only got Janice.
Miss Archer, that's mine.
Yes.
UWI.
Oh, yeah. Wait,
You see, and you see why I am not listening to you?
Miss Archer. Okay.
I'm not
One
listening to
thing
you.
I know about Biff's instructors, they can make sure equip us so we can get good grades.
Wow.
Sandra, I sent you an email just now too.
You could
Already.
check it,
You.
the UWI one.
Oh, go that one? Okay. And let me go to my inbox. Mm, I don't like how they change these things. No, it's not here. Why is it doing that though? I'm in my inbox, but it's not coming up for today. No. Hold on. No. Okay, hold on. Let me do unread. Yep, gotcha. And reply. Okay, Melissa, it's coming now. I don't know if I could type this number because you may scream. Okay, Melissa, it's,
Say again?
it's a you may scream. It's gone.
Okay.
And Siobhan is last but not least. Siobhan. Okay, I answered you, Siobhan. So I'm not listening to none of you all. I'm doing what I want to do. I hear silence.
Shock.
Shock and relief. I have to say though,
Right.
Miss Archer,
I don't know what
I
to
am
say.
that cheat sheet was very helpful because
Yes.
it reminded me of like how you can't realistically remember everything, but just having little like pointers to trigger your mind to think about it, that was very, very helpful. I wasn't expecting that, and I was like, hallelujah, the good Lord and all his mercy answers prayers.
Yeah, but we won't be answering it this time though.
Oh, that's okay. We gotta have a really, really good review session, right?
Well, some people will have 2 review sessions, but Deandra will have
right.
only 1, remember?
Oh boy.
No, she's flying out, so she'll have 1.
Okay.
She's logging on. She said give her 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, maybe now. Okay.
I'll give her 10 minutes. I'll give her 10 minutes. I forget she have to deal with the kiddies. All right. So all the logistics is finished now. Everybody is happy. Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank God. I thought I was going to die just now. Y'all
Miss Archer,
gonna be shooting me.
you can
Yes.
check the email again, please.
Okay. Let me
Thank
check.
you.
I don't understand. Explain that to me.
Okay, I can explain it right quick.
Explain. Yeah, explain that. Send me a message. You writing in gibberish now. I don't like numbers, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's gotta be clear. Now, let's get ready to talk about trust policies and procedures. And I'm also going to teach you all on Saturday and it'll be online. You don't mind, right?
That's okay.
That's
No,
fine.
that works for me.
Okay. So you could get up and we could do this, and then you could go and start getting ready for Mr. Wilkinson next week. So like in any job, in the function itself, you have to have policies and procedures, and trust is no different. So in this role, if you are a trust administrator or you're doing filing, you have to have policies and procedures. And when you look at the trust documents, the different types of documents. So as an administrator, you have to make sure that the documents or records that are kept are accurate, that they are the proper documentation. You have to be able to manage internal and external communication. So all of those things are key. Added to that, you have to be able to store your information in a safe and secure environment, which means it has to be, if it is a vital piece of information, it has to be in a fireproof cabinet. Otherwise, it's in a regular cabinet. You got to make sure there's no leakage, no seepage, because you have to preserve those documents. And remember that whenever you're dealing with trust documents, you always have to act in a professional manner. And you have to be responsive to the clients. Because always at the back of your mind is that the beneficiaries can sue. So important documents are the original trust agreements, your bank and broker statements, your memorandum and letters of wishes or memorandum of wishes, your legal opinions, your accounts, and all of these have to be kept in a secure cabinet. And you also have to determine who has access to which documents. When you talk about access, in most filing departments, everything is locked. You have to request documentation. And that means that the requests are logged. Logs means that it's dated, what document or file has been released to whom and when it is returned. So as a part of that function of being an administrator, you have that responsibility to make sure that documents are always secure and that you know where documents are. So even if your material is electronically saved, you have to make sure that that itself is logged properly, that there are procedures as to who has access to that data. You also have, as a part of your BCP and your BCP strategy, who has access, what can be retrieved, where it can be retrieved. So all of those things are important when you're talking about trust documents and following policies and procedures. So far, when you look at the documents that a trust administrator would use, you have to add to that the trustee minutes, consents from the protector or the settler. You have to look at approvals from the protector or the settler. Any other documents that have to do with the trustees' deliberations. All of those sensitive documents also, they have to be stored and stored properly. The beneficiaries' personal information, such as their KYC documents, their passport, address verification, tax requirements, tax legal opinions, all of those things should be filed in a separate cabinet. So when a trust administrator or trust officer is doing their day-to-day work, they take it into consideration all of the different documents. They have to be able to retrieve these documents in order to come to a recommendation when a beneficiary is seeking a request from the trust. So in addition to their KYC documents, you could also have documents on a beneficiary's mortgages or their loans or other financial information that will assist the trustees in exercising their discretion in giving out a benefit. So as I said earlier, you have internal and external communication. And that internal communication is the communication that happens between the trust officers or the trust administrators and the trust officers. Or it could be between the trust administrator and the trustee committee. Then you have the external correspondence, and that can be from the investment advisors, the brokers, the custodians, the lawyers. And all of those documents have to be properly diarized, filed, documented, and secured. And they're kept separately. So you could see in the trust business, it's not like other functions. Everything has to be categorized. They have to be stored, and the retrieval must have a process. So another part of that record keeping, because remember now, a trustee has the power to delegate, and he has the power to employ agents. So those agents will be bringing in documentation that the trust committee, through the advice or recommendation from the trust administrator, will rely on. So things like statements, expenses, any advances that are made, any investment accounts, any distribution to beneficiaries, all of those are documentation that has to be filed and stored. Because at any point in time, a trust administrator should be able to say, Mr. Joe Smith has received 15 distributions during his lifetime. 5 were made in this year, 3 were done here, 3 was done here, 4 here. So everything has to be meticulously set out and recorded. Then you have to look at the beneficiary's account information, the distribution that comes from income and what comes from capital. What are they entitled to? And any other information that you need regarding the trust accounting. So one of the things as a trust administrator, you have to be sure that your information is always accurate, and you have an accountability to make sure from accounting perspective that you're keeping proper records. So in addition to all of the records, internal, external communication, personal KYC, documentation from agents, you also have to look at the trust assets themselves. And further down, you're going to do one of your sessions will be on specialized assets. And specialized assets refer to things like diamonds, a yacht. It could be a painting. It could be ornaments. It could be things that were found, I guess, like say, antique furniture. All those kinds of things. When you have those kind of assets, you'll find when you do that chapter that you as a trustee, you have to ensure, 1, that you place them in custody, 2, that they are properly accounted for, 3, that they are housed in the place, that they are kept safe, and the place is dry or air conditioned. So the place has to be conducive to the asset itself. Custody statements or custody reports also is a part of trust accounting because it plays a part in the valuation of the assets. Now in today's world, we know everything is automated. So automated systems are also used in trust the same way that you use it in banking or in securities. So automation centralizes trust information and it makes it easier if you have to do a report because everything will be at your fingertips. So it helps the trust administrator in managing the trust, organizing, and being professional. And it also make it very easy for him to access information. So it allowed the trust administrator and the trust officer to work efficiently and productively by utilizing the various programs that assist them in getting answers to the beneficiaries or to the trust committee in a real time. So once you have a proper record keeping and filing system and it's supported by clear policies and procedures, then compliance becomes an easy job. Because once compliance can see that the documents are in place, or once a trust officer or trust administrator can readily see the documents that are in place, then they know that it's not that difficult for them to say when things are missing or what are the next steps or what is due next. That's the beauty in having these things automated. Any comments? Don't be as quiet like this with Mr. Wilkinson next week, you know.
I have
Good
a question.
evening, y'all. I don't have any comments, but I just wanted to say hi. I'm here.
Who's
And
that?
it's the lady you have been asking for all night. Miss Archer. Hello?
It looks like she dropped.
Oh,
You
wow.
coming in, Kiko, Deandra?
I trying to understand what's going on. I know. She probably
I
can
dropped.
check
I
the
dropped.
storage.
I dropped. I dropped. I had to drop because who was that person?
Miss Archer, it's me. I'm sorry, but I under the weather again, man.
Oh Lord. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll be trying to keep up, okay?
Please do.
Okay.
Please do.
All righty.
Yes. Oh Lord, Lavette, you jammed my phone. I am trying to answer you. Hold on.
That's fine. I can wait.
You can?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I'll let you wait then. Deandra, if you want your grade, you could send it to me or you could wait until Miss Dean sends it tomorrow.
Okay.
Any question on trust policies and procedures and record keeping?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I know, well, it really just came out of the wording in the book, but you kind of maybe sort of answered.
Mhm.
But in our book, it says that a document log which tracks access to the original documents is required. Is that like is that log actually a requirement by like statute or anything, or is it just like a best practices requirement?
Best practice.
Okay, that was my question. And then I know, kind of added to that in terms of the separation of files. Like I really understand why we need to have such detailed record keeping, but is that also a best practice thing to separate like the due diligence documents file from some other files of the trust?
Yes.
Okay,
And now, when you have, it depends on how the department is structured. When you have the KYC documentation, in some institution that is kept by compliance. That is not kept with the other files. Because remember now, when, if let's say you have an investment and dividends are being paid from that investment, normally the trustees of that investment or the investing, the agents will ask for, okay, we now have to pay out dividends on this particular stock. Who are the beneficiaries? Then they will ask, can we have the KYC on those beneficiaries? So it's always best to keep them separate so that you can track those also when they expire.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? All right, so let's look at the procedures. So creating, maintaining, and terminating trusts. The trust administrators and the trust officers should be guided by general procedures. And they have to be in compliance with best practice and within the ambit of the law. Now, you all know the law that governs trust business. That's the Trustee Act. So going forward, after you finish this course, if you have not read it and you intend to go further, you need to read it. So you become familiar with the provisions within the Trustee Act. So that when you read a trust document, you know that the law states this. However, the trust instrument has something different. So you have to know the difference between what the law states and what the trust agreement says. So such account procedures should document the steps in creating trusts, provide clear direction on establishing trust accounts, maintaining trust accounts, conducting trust account reviews, making investments on behalf of the trust, distributing income and capital from the trust, determining what actions to take when key trigger events occur, and terminating the trust. There should be a procedure in place for each one of these acts. The procedures supplement the policy, and the policy guide the trust administrators. So always remember, policy first, procedures second. Procedures tell you how to do it. Policy gives you the ambit as to what the organization, the trust company requires within the law and where there are exceptions. Internal policy should be drafted and updated in a way that encourages a level handling of transactions. And normally when you write a policy, depending on the policy itself and the purpose for which it was drafted, it has a renewable date. So some policies are renewable on an annual basis, some every 2 years, some every 3 years. But within the policy, it should have a trigger, which means that if certain events happen, the policy may have to be amended prior to the renewable date. So once you update your policy, you keep it abreast with best practices and changes within the law. So an account profile allows the trust administrator and the trust officer to have access to information, and it summarizes and provides the key provisions of the trust instrument. any prohibitions or restrictions, any amendments, trigger events, and information on the beneficiaries of the trust. So what the key profile gives you is just a snapshot of the key things you need to know about a particular trust. It could also give you information on who has consent, who needs to approve, the powers that a settlor has retained to himself, what powers were given to the protector, and any other information that they need to properly diarize. So the account profile summarizes these things as short as possible. So if you pick up a trust or you want to know what a trust is about, everything is summarized. It is also useful in providing client due diligence information. You can also put in it who are the intermediaries, who are the agents, and any notices. And remember, every trust company is regulated. And sometimes there are restrictions and conditions. So even though you may not have them on a particular trust, you may want to put in your account profile the jurisdictions where there are tax conditions that you need to be mindful of. Because remember now, with the changes in the law in the UK and other jurisdictions, tax evasion is a crime. So the trustee committee minutes file should also be properly maintained and safely secured. Because remember, under the Trustee Act, there's only certain information a beneficiary can see. So due to the sensitive, private, and confidential nature of the information within the minutes itself, you have to have clear policies and procedures as to who can access information and control those files properly. So notes on trust accounts should be kept with the trustee minutes. And that's so that it's easy to be able to access the information and relay the information. The trust accounting files are useful in recording the income and capital distribution and also all of the transactions within the trust. The trust accounting is also important for assessing and deciding the relevant dates, the charges, and the fees in relation to the trust assets, the investments, distribution, and safe custody. Always be mindful when you think about trust administration being carried out by the trust administrator and the trust officer, and the deliberations are done by the trust committee, is that one of the main duties of the trustee is to invest. And so he has to pay particular attention to reports that come in from the agents. And he has to make sure after deliberations are held that the income and the capital distribution are recorded properly. So trust accounting files will often include the bank statements, the broker statement, the custody advices, notices and statements, the valuation of trust assets, the records of distribution of income and capital. And remember when you did the Trustee Act on the section on investments, you saw that the trustee himself has to develop a strategy as to how he's going to invest and how he's going to build and sustain those investments over the duration of the trust itself. So trust officers have a legal and a fiduciary duty to administer the trust, 1, in accordance with the terms of the trust, 2, in the best interest of the trust, and always within the law. Proper policies and procedures and overall record keeping are important in helping to discharge these obligations. So yes, they must have policies and procedures, And those documents are part of record keeping. And so that means that the Data Protection Act comes into play as to how long do you keep certain documents. And of course, when documents should be destroyed and which documents should be destroyed. So by keeping good records, having policies and procedures in place that are adhered to, then when they conduct their daily activities, the trust administrator and the trust officer, they're able to act in a prudent manner, efficient manner. They are productive and they have a sense of responsibility because they now can respond to internal and external stakeholders. Any questions? I love this chapter on the final exam. It's a good one. So I got some information from, who is this? A law firm about beneficiary information. Current data on trust beneficiaries include their addresses, their social security numbers, their state of residence, their tax bracket, their financial needs, and any other data that is advisable or essential to maintain. In some instances, the trust records might document the state income tax implications of beneficiary residences, the tax status of the trust, and what planning may be feasible. Then you also have to think about disclosures. You have to look at the terms of the trust and the applicable law of the trust. So if it is required that disclosures about the trust be made to certain beneficiaries, documentation that the required disclosures have been made should be retained. If it's not obvious from the terms of the trust which beneficiaries should receive notice, an internal memorandum outlining the applicable law and analysis should be retained. So you see in a lot of instances where trustees seek the advice of lawyers when they're not clear on certain points. For trust assets, trust records should include the documentation transferring the assets into the trust. And this might include, for example, an assignment for a partnership interest, a deed for real estate, a stock purchase agreement for stock purchase rather than received by gift, a gift letter confirming a transfer by gift, a range of other documents depending on the nature of the asset and the manner of the transfer. So you see, in addition to the documents that's in your notes, there are also other supplemental documents that make up the full package of the records for trusts. So a trust regularly retains professionals to provide advice. Those advice could be on insurance, could be on wealth managers, attorneys, CPAs. And trustees should try to obtain and retain written agreements with professional advisors. It could be important to confirm who the advisor is representing. The trustee, or are they representing the beneficiaries, or are they representing the grantor or settlor or donor? Too often, only a general engagement letter for a client is prepared rather than separate agreements for the client, an entity, or trust. So loan arrangements. Many trusts lend money to beneficiaries, or they lend money to family entities or others. And related party loans are too often handled informally or worse. Proper documentation, payment, and report of interest is essential for the transfer to be taxed as a loan, to minimize the risk of the loan being used to attack the validity of transaction or even the entity trust involved. So if a trust purchases a house for a beneficiary, be certain that property tax and mortgage interest deductions are being properly handled both for the trust and those using the property. Who is entitled to deduct property taxes for personal property that may be owned by a trust? Has appropriate trust documentation been completed to support the acquisition of the trust? Which fiduciary must authorize the purchase? Is a personal use asset subject to the discretion of an investment trustee or the general trustee? So even if there is a guarantee, if the family engage in any intra-family sale, a trust other than the purchasing trust may have guaranteed a portion of the payment. Then you have to determine if there are guarantee fees. And if they are, have they been paid? So all of these things are other documents that the trustee has to take into consideration. And those documents have to be retained. And that's the same thing when it comes to taxes. They have to make sure that the proper tax is being charged and paid out and record is kept. Any questions?
No
So how-
questions from me.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. How does trustees avoid liability when it comes to record keeping? Because that's one of the duty of a trustee is to have proper record keeping. So how does he avoid liability in carrying out that duty? This is a wonderful exam question.
I guess a couple things I figure. Like first of all, actually knowing and understanding what can be shared and to who, so that you don't overshare or, do that. And actually keeping clear records that are protected, well protected, so that you could find them 10 years from now, but you could still understand them. If somebody else has to pick it up, they would still be able to understand it. And probably some other stuff too.
Okay. So if I were to ask you in the exam, I think when I write. So let's see if I were to ask you. When? No. Mm, Okay, I have it. So if I were to say to you, trustees have a duty to maintain information relative to the trust and to be able, well, I'll have to wait a little bit, and be able to identify trust property. So trustees have a duty to maintain information and identify trust property relative to the trust. Yeah, put it to the end. What are the prerequisites for this duty?
Repeat it for me, please.
Trustees have to maintain information and to identify trust property relative to the trust. What are the prerequisites for this duty?
One would be knowing the actual trust or familiarizing themselves with the trust document, with the trust DNA. That's, I guess, one of the prerequisites.
Mm-hmm.
They have to ensure that they have, I guess, all information on beneficiaries. No.
Mm-hmm.
Another prerequisite.
How distribution should be made?
There you go.
Mm-hmm. So I
And
check
then
What type of trust it is?
and if they have permission to not, is it distribute, not distribute, but if they have rights to, for lack of a better word, distribute whatever assets.
Okay,
No.
I say.
And they have to actually know what assets they actually have and is it properly valued.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Tree ticks. Anything else?
They'd have to have proper documentation that actually proves that the trust owns the property. Like, for example, property, like real property has to actually be conveyed to the trust or bank accounts in the trust name, that kind of stuff. And have
Mm-hmm.
actual documents that represent that.
Yes, okay. That's a sub. Okay. Everybody gone quiet? Javon, what you have to say? Javon gone quiet? Levette, what about you?
I'm listening.
What contribution you giving to this question? I may word it different, but it's coming.
I was trying to type it while you was, but I didn't get all of it.
You don't need to type it. We have review coming up, so no need to type it.
Okay. What was the question again? Because I was listening to the answers.
Trustees have a duty to maintain information and to identify trust property relative to the trust. What are the prerequisites for this duty?
I know somebody mentioned it all depends on what type of trust it is. without prerequisites. Zach, I don't know right now. I'm thinking right now.
I would say too, like it goes back to the three things that should be present. So the portion where you said something about identify what the trust property is,
Mhm.
I can't remember if it goes under objects. Is objects
Yes.
the property?
Objects,
Yeah.
objects are the beneficiaries. All right, so you all pulling hard. So trustees have a duty. So you know you're talking about the trustees. And that duty to maintain information refers to their duty to keep good records, which is what we just did. So trustee as a fiduciary, one, has to keep accurate and
Current.
Detailed information.
oh,
Sorry, what you said just now?
oh, the letter O. Accurate and not detailed. The word begins with O. Remember what I was talking about?
Organized.
Yes. So a trustee, as a part of his duty of record keeping, has to keep accurate and organized records. Did I not tell you that? I told you they must keep organized records. That's why they're all moving to automation. And that's why everything has to be logged, filed properly. People just can't walk in and out and take files. So the first thing is they have to keep accurate and organized records. Next, they have to record if there's any transfer of property, like Alicia said, in and out of the trust. That has to be recorded. Remember now, they have a duty of record keeping. They have to record their decision-making process. That's from the committee. They have to be able to identify trust property,
Subject matter. I remember now.
okay? They also have to keep records for as long as they are trustee and liable to the beneficiaries. And remember, I said just before I ended that chapter, when I said to you, one of the most important duties they have is that duty to invest. Because that's what they do. That's their main thing that a trustee does. Yes, he makes deliberations, but his deliberations is based on that duty to invest. So his duty of record keeping and identification of trust property means that he has to account for the nature and the value of the trust assets when he receives it. He has to account for the principal and income of the trust. He has to account for how much principal and income has been disbursed. This is what record keeping is all about. He has to keep account if there's been any commission paid. He must know what's the balances on the account. And remember when you did in the part one of trust, he has to know his expenses, he has to know his gains, and he has to know the losses of the trust. He has that duty as a part of his record keeping to account to the beneficiary for those things. And if he is unable to, he can seek the approval from the court so that he can limit his liability. So if he cannot keep accurate records, then that matter goes to the court. And the court will then listen to the dispute to come to a conclusion as to whether or not they find in favor or against the trustee. That's the importance of this module. Policies and procedures are needed for the trustee to avoid liability. And that duty of keeping their records is a duty because they have to account to the beneficiaries. Because the beneficiaries have a right to information. And I see how easy that question was. I know
Ms.
you're being,
Archer, what would be a reason why the trustee can't keep accurate records?
well, one is if he doesn't have proper procedures and he doesn't follow the procedures, he won't have accurate records.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, so he'll be liable in any event then.
because he has a duty to account. So when the beneficiaries come for information, he can't be pulling open this drawer and pulling open that drawer and trying to put the numbers together and find out, oh, did we distribute it? No, it has to be meticulous. Because remember, the first thing that's going to come out of these beneficiaries' mouth, I'm going to sue you. And the court is not going to be in your favor if you didn't keep proper records. So it's always wise, knowing that this is an examinable chapter, to start to write your little notes so that you could remember the key things that you need to know with regard to a trustee maintaining their duty to keep proper records. So this question could come in many different ways, but it's all on the same information. Any comments or questions? Don't wait until the last minute to start studying. So on Saturday, we're going to look at the protector. I'll see, I have some articles. I hope I can find at least one on the protector and the power holder. So you're going to need your trustee act with the amendment, and then there are some cases in Unit 5. The Freeburg Trust and the A Trust. So we're going to talk about the protector and the power holder. Okay?
All righty.
Y'all are
Ms. Archer, what was those cases again, you said?
they're in the Unit 5.
5? Okay, all right, cool.
So I expect when you
Okay.
come on, would have read it. So at least you know what we're talking about.
Okay.
Okay? All right. So that's it. Everybody got their results. Except Deandra, you didn't get yours, eh?
I am going to email you right now.
Why?
Because you say to email you to get it, right?
No, Miss Dana will send it to you tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
You can email me. The others got their grades.
Okay, I'll send it now.
Oh Lord, help me. All right.
All right, y'all have a good night.
Everybody
night.
have a good night, please.
Good
Start,
night. Good night.
Good night.
good night. Start studying, please, so you don't
Yes,
feel
ma'am.
okay.
Yes,
Laverne,
ma'am.
look at your email now.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Acho.
Right.
Bye.
Good night.